You are listening to the Scars and Guitars podcast series, and my name's Andrew Mackay-Smith. The interview subject I've got prepared for you. It's Okoi Jones from the Swiss-Kiwi outfit, Bölzer. The reason for the conversation is to promote the Australasian Blitz Tour, which is happening across May and June, and I'll read out all of the dates. On the 28th of May, they're playing in Auckland. On the 29th, they're playing in Wellington. On the 30th of May, they're playing in Brisbane. Hopefully, I'll get along to that show there because I'm certainly looking forward to it. May 31st, they're playing in Sydney. And then in June, all these dates are in June. The 1st, they're playing in Melbourne. The 7th, they're playing in Hobart. The 8th, Adelaide. You've got a show. And finally, Perth. You've got a show on the 9th. So let's have a listen to what Okoi has to say. Here we go.
Hey, how's it going, man?
Yeah, good. This is awesome, actually. Yeah, it was. Sometimes this happens where an artist is is available before the scheduled time. If it's okay with you, man, there's plenty of things I'd like to talk about.
Yeah,
so
sure.
if it can be longer than 15 minutes or 20 minutes, that'd be great. You know.
Yeah, no problem.
I think it's a real credit to you guys that you are continuing on the tour. And that you are putting on a show for your fans, because you've got to know by now, you've got a few down here, because you really impressed people when you came down with Behemoth and Watain in 2015.
Yeah. Well, thank you, man. First and foremost, it definitely wasn't easy, with the whole situation, circumstances and whatnot, to say we were going to continue and do it as a headline, because I didn't really feel too comfortable with that, to be honest. But as you said, we do have a fan base, and they're one of our, most impressive, mind-blowing receptions we've ever had. So it would be foolish not to take up on the opportunity. And yeah, we're most certainly looking forward to it. Absolutely,
mate. I'm detecting a Kiwi accent there. Is that the case?
Yes, I grew up in New Zealand, so...
there you go. I didn't know that. There you go. Okay.
Yeah, all right.
Yeah, wow.
Not far.
Yeah, actually,
Indeed.
I've just started covering the rugby for the uni that I go to, Bond Uni, and I love rugby, mate. So I'm not sure how we went against Australia, went against the New Zealand schoolboys, but you could probably imagine what the result might have been. But mate, we're a little bit away behind you guys at the moment, unfortunately. I'd love to see us sort of pick up the game to what it was in the '90s when I was growing up.
Yeah. I to be honest, man, I don't really follow it. Although I really respect it and enjoy it as a sport. I just don't keep tabs on what's going on much when I'm over here. I'm not really that much of a group sport person, it's still a great thing. Absolutely.
Yeah, I was having a chat to the lads in Alien Weaponry as well, and they were telling me they don't really follow it either. So it's really hard to find musicians that get into it. Particularly, being Kiwi, I honestly thought, because I've got a lot of Kiwi mates, and I grew up playing rugby. You see, so it's sort of in my blood, sort of thing. But it's really interesting to see there's still that distinction between musicians and the group sport thing that you talk about, the team sport thing that you talk about, because there's like that idea that they're mutually exclusive in some way. But I never did that. I always loved listening to heavy metal and then going to footy training or soccer training, whatever it might have been.
Yeah.
Horses for courses and do each their own.
I can understand that.
Yeah. But, mate, one other thing I did, I spent a good slab of the afternoon actually looking at your live recordings on YouTube. They're fucking impressive.
Oh, dear.
No, they're impressive, man, because, I mean, there's two of you up there. And I've got to tell you, I'm a bit of a skeptic because I'm a bass player. I do play guitar, but first and foremost, I'm a bass player. And one of the things is, I hope the guys don't take this the wrong way, but I know you're mates with the guys in Mantar as well, but I didn't really like the album from about 2 albums ago. I can't remember the name of it. But I really felt that it really needed a bass guitar, because you and them, you got that in common, but you've also got something else in common, okay, in that you evoke Celtic frost. Now, I can't give a greater compliment than that. I really, truly can't. And your performance, man. Yeah, your performance, man. There's one of the performances on YouTube where you're bathed in this blue light. You've got that, the symbols that you have either side of you, the black and white sun symbol either side of you, man. And it's just like a pagan ritual. It really draws you in, even over a video.
Okay. Well, that's nice to hear, man. I appreciate that. We're very self-critical, so the whole project as such, the band, and it's its appearance and all these things. They're all evolving constantly. So it's seldom that we're very happy with things as they are. And I'm not a very big fan of live footage of us, because often it's just taken by someone just on their phone or whatnot, and the sound often doesn't do it justice and things like that. But it's I try not to get involved with that at all. I try to just focus on my subjective standpoint, and also trying to take an outside point of view on things to ensure that it's coming across at least as we would like it to. But it's a strange thing, especially if you're very critical, as I was saying.
Do you get a lot of that? Do you cop a little bit from the so-called true and cold metal fans out there that have a go at any semi-successful band?
Oh man, it's always been that. The entirety of the last 8 years or so, you have your parade of praise, and then you have all the haters as well, and that's fine. I think both are crucial, to improving what you're doing. And so of course there's always disdain you lose fans, you win fans, and I think every time you put out a new release, there's a set of new ears that catches on to what you're doing and what you're trying to say, what you're trying to evoke, and others give up and don't understand it anymore, and that's fine. I have why should I have anything against that? Everything is in constant motion, and that's the way of the world.
Yeah, I've got a rule, because I host a podcast series, so if it's okay with you, I want to broadcast this as part of my podcast series, but I also do writing for about 3 or 4 publications. And
oh, sure.
Yeah, and I've got a rule, mate, particularly with social media, because occasionally I'll see comments about articles that I've written or what have you, but my overall philosophy is, if it's negative, just don't respond, don't feed it, and I do not respond to it. And I've interviewed everybody from some of the guys in Kiss to bands like yourselves to the guys in Five. Remember that pop band from the 90s?
Oh yeah,
I do all of that stuff. So I tend to sort of cover all, even hip hop stuff, all bases. I'm just love music, so I tend to just talk to any musician out there, really, and I always end up having really interesting conversations. And I get a lot of feedback. No doubt you do too. Of course, you get far more than I do, but from fans all over the globe, man, who just really appreciate what you're doing. And I've got to say that the feedback ratio that I get would have to be 99% positive. And I think it's just lifting the lid off the veneer that a lot of bands have got, and people being able to listen. And I tend to find with podcasting too, you get real genuine music fans listening. They really care about the band. So I find they're not going to invest their time listening to a podcast if they don't really like the artist.
That's true. Podcast is quite a unique medium in that sense. And ironically, we've only just started contributing to a few podcasts as of late. Last week we did one for something here in Switzerland, and with you, and I think we've done one in the past or twice, but not. A vast majority have been just standard interviews. But I think it's interesting you say that podcasts are definitely something for the truer fan, or
for the fans,
connoisseur or whatever.
I did one with Stuart Anstis, who was the guitarist in Cradle of Filth in the 90s, probably easily, in my view, their best guitarist in terms of inventive and creative guitarist. And man, I reckon every month I get not a couple, but I get one or two. I get some correspondence about it. And I did that almost 2 years ago, a year and a half ago or so. Some of them just seem to live a life of their own, well beyond the date of the interview when they're posted. And you love seeing that, because you know that you're really connecting with the genuine fans who love music, love the artists, and they're the artists. They're the fans that, if you like, they're the gatekeepers of the genre moving forward.
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, we're very reliant on them, and it's. I mean, we've had, the diehard super fans since release of our demo, and they're still here. And, we see them at shows all over the place. It's really mind-blowing sometimes, to have that. And, the swathe of tattoos that have popped up over the years as well.
I bet you get
them. Crazy.
Yeah. So do you get, because you're pretty heavily sorted, with regards to tattoos. But, man, you must inspire a lot of people to get pretty much the same tattoos you've got.
I don't know, man. I've got all my things mean a lot to me there.
Yeah.
It's just deeply rooted in some archaic energy. I'm a very down-to-earth guy,
Yeah, I can sense that.
Most of it's rooted in the past and, mythology and whatnot. But
yeah. Yep.
Yeah, I think people are certainly tapping into that as well in the modern age. They need to get in contact with something a little more deeply rooted than the society is that we live in. So I think they have a natural attraction to a lot of iconography, from the past and previous cultures.
I think you've done a really good job online too, because I did dive into this part of it, explaining the reasons for some of your tattoos, because of course probably more than anybody, mate, the day and age that we're living in with regards to the policing of certain things and all the rest of it, and the way that they attack you and your band, and they've got it wrong. Yeah. Or every single time, because you've come out and you've been very articulate as to the reasons that you've got certain symbols on your body and stuff, and more power to you for doing that and not being bullied by these fuckwits.
Well, man, you can only do as much as you can. We live in an age of very short tempers and short attention spans, and people just don't read enough anymore. They don't take the time to delve into the sea of endless information that constitutes our history. They would rather just take the sensationalist answer that pops up in front of them. And, to call me anything in the line of a bigot, a racist, something like that would be absolutely ludicrous. I come from a mixed background. I'm, raised in exactly the opposite way. I'm a very open-minded person. I choose to be critical of all things and think things very, I take the difficult path. I don't take the easy path. And of course, I'm willing to take all of this flack and people that just aren't up to date, and that's cool. And we live in difficult times. I'm always willing to give my standpoint towards that. That's no problem at all.
Yep.
But I think it's pretty obvious now that I do not support any of these, rumoured views. That's just ludicrous.
Yeah, indeed it is, mate. Indeed it is, and that's why I want to give you so much praise for going ahead with these shows here, because as I've said, I've seen the footage on YouTube. I didn't see you guys. I did actually go to that show in 2015 in Brisbane. And I got off, I was working in Cairns at the time, far north of Queensland, and I was flying down, and I got off in time. My wife actually drove me to the show because I was not going to bloody miss it. And I literally caught the encore. But I could hear people talking about you guys at the bar, that. It was one of those few times where I heard people say, what do you think of the opening band? Like, they couldn't remember what the name was, but they were clearly talking about you guys, and that's when I heard the duo. And they said, no, they were outstanding. And then I read a few of the write-ups on Twitter about how you guys performed across the shows, man. And that's what I said early on, when I opened the conversation, that you have endeared yourself to Australian audiences, man. I don't think you're going to have any trouble at all attracting people to these headline shows, man. Are these the first headline shows in a? I know you're a Kiwi, so Australia's basically just down the road, mate, effectively. But are these the first headline shows that you're doing in another country?
Not in another country, but in Australia they are. Yes.
Okay.
We've played, small headline shows, if you want to call them that, in New Zealand, in the States, in Europe, all over the place. But these are important shows for us, absolutely. This is our third time in Oz, and through this strange situation, we've chosen to try and fill that slot, which will be no easy task. But it's we're going to give our best, and we just do our thing. We're honest, and we give our 150% every show. So we'll see what comes of it. We really look forward to having some new faces in the crowd too, hopefully. Yeah.
Well, I think so. Yeah, I think that's going to be the case. And mate, what sort of a show have you got planned? Because if I'm not mistaken, you've got 4 releases out there, and you've probably got a bunch of other tracks in your arsenal. But will they be drawn from Hero and also the EPs such as Soma and the like, or are you going to be using this as an opportunity to showcase some new material?
Well, at the moment, we've just recorded a new release that'll be our next fifth mini album. But we're not actually in the position to play all of that yet. So, we will be just covering the board of our discography, and there's it's an hour at least, and a good mix of all of the songs. Yeah. So.
Yeah. What about the decision to play as a duo? As I've said, I'm a bass player, so I'm always somewhat curious whenever I see guitar and drum duos. I mean, the White Stripes, Local H. There's been some bloody good ones in the years gone by, and then of course there's you guys and Manta, just top of mind that I can sort of recollect now. But was it a case of that you had bass players in the band and they were pains in the arse, and you just thought, bugger this, we're just going to go it alone as a duo, or is it far more strategic than that? And you just went, no, I know what I want to achieve here with I think you play a 10-string guitar, correct me if I'm wrong, and because you're making a hell of a racket up there by yourself.
Well, Andrew, it was actually a mix of both. Initially it was the vision of the band was rather young. We didn't really know exactly what we were going to do. It wasn't all planned out. So we did trial a few bassists from our group of friends to see what would come of it, and it just never really worked out. They just weren't on the same wavelength as us, and so we were left to our own devices. And after some time, it became apparent that we're quite happy keeping it as a duo. So I just expanded on that as a writing basis, so adjusting all of the riffs to incorporate bass frequencies where possible, so it wasn't just, for example, just lead playing or just a lot of high-end black metal tremolo picking or something, But to be honest, I've been doing this style since I was playing in my first band in New Zealand years and years ago. So my guitar style has been pretty similar. And it just, I don't know, man, it's a challenge, but it seems to be working out okay, and we don't really focus on that anymore. It's more about just writing and improving on things. Yeah.
Who's an who inspired you then? As young fellas, we tend to sort of, for me it was Faith No More and Primus, But for you, mate, is it something more obvious like an Emperor or an Immortal or something like that when you heard them and went, man, I need to do this. I want to play guitar and do something similar?
Well, my father was definitely one of my biggest impressions. He's a singer-songwriter and a phenomenal guitarist and muso. So he's remained one of my number one inspirations for sure. And then when I got into heavier music, I started off with grew up with 60s and 70s rock at home, a lot of blues and jazz and stuff and classical. But I got into the grunge and things when I was younger, and then I got into metal. And if you're looking at rhythm guitarists and vocalists, which I was kind of doing since I was 14, 15, then Kurt Cobain was a big thing for me back then.
Okay.
Some people might be shocked, but
I'm not. I can see it. I can see it in your performance, actually. Yeah, visceral is the word I use. Yeah.
But yeah, well, he was always very honest and a genial songwriter. So and countless others. I mean, in the extreme metal genre, definitely Abath's playing inspired me a lot. Chuck Schuldiner, all of those things. Yeah.
Chuck. Yeah, there you go. Which album impressed you the most?
Oh,
tough one, I know. Yeah,
I'm sort of middle of the board fan. Human had a big impression on me. All of them actually. It's a bit difficult to pick the one I like the most, but it's just
it's a tough one with Death, man. I've actually interviewed Tim Amar, who was the singer and Control Denied, Chuck's final ever project. So I was able to have a conversation with a guy who was in the studio with him when he was sort of evolving into that prog stuff that he was doing and moving away from a lot of the straight up death metal stuff. Sounds like you're on a Japanese train there.
I am in a train because I've got a busy day, mate, and it's good though. No problem as long as the internet connection holds up.
No, that's fine. No, that's awesome. Yeah, no worries. I was saying, I had a chat to him, and see, I think Chuck was getting better as he evolved, but a lot of people love the earlier stuff, spiritual healing and all the rest of it. But I find that stuff a bit brutal, meaning that I love the melody that you're throwing in. Around Sound of Perseverance is just all time for me.
Yeah, for me, probably symbolic is like up there, all around, because I think from beginning to the end, it's just almost perfect. And the playing's insane, and it's minimalist, it's all reduced to the absolute minimum, but it's still technically demanding, and it's amazing. So yeah,
okay. Yeah, I had a chat
that
to
and a lot of other musical styles. Yeah.
Yeah, oh yeah. Look, it doesn't surprise me. I mean, there's two things that I can definitely that resonate for me when I'm actually watching your performances on YouTube. Okay, so the Kurt Cobain thing I can definitely see. All of the very best qualities that he brought to the stage, I can see come out in you. There's that. You're very intense.
Okay. That's interesting. I've never heard that before, but thank you very much.
Yeah, I'll take it as a compliment. It's meant to be. I know. Like a lot of metalheads are, they distance Nirvana from everything else they listen to, but they shouldn't, because Nirvana actually broke open. Say, because of Nirvana's success, we had a whole slew of bands in the '90s, death metal bands like Morbid Angel, that were, they even got major label deals. And
yeah.
For me,
there's a lot of misconceptions regarding, how grunge ruined metal, but or the whole punk and underground movement. But I don't think so. I think on the contrary, it opened the doors to like a mainstream platform, as you were saying. So yeah.
No, agreed. And the other thing that I can actually see, and I'm looking at a photo on here, on Wikipedia. It's taken in 2006, man. But your way you actually hold your guitar is very similar to the way the great bluesmen, like the Albert Kings, hold their guitar, because you're all over the fretboard, meaning that you're going right up to the 12th and 16th fret to do what you need to do. So, man, you've got a lot of a blues. You're like an old school blues player as well.
Yeah, all right. Thank you. Well, I love the blues, and my dad's a blues guitarist, basically, in essence. So, and he showed me a lot of good techniques regarding.
Check out that photo. Check out the photo on YouTube, man. You actually look like a six-string bass player, the way you're holding it. It's the fingering.
Right, gotcha.
Because I'm a musician, I look at the fretting hand. I always look at the fretting hand to see how that's being shaped. And with you, man, it's almost it's dead on in line with the frets, meaning that you get a very crisp note.
A good eye as well. It's a heavy. I play heavy gauge strings. It's a very heavy set neck. It's a baritone Mensur. I hold the body pretty high up so I don't get any cramps. It's just better technique for yourself. So
yeah. No, I can see that.
Thank you.
Yeah, no, that's cool. Yeah, well, mate, I'll make this one my final question then for you. In terms of the future, you've pretty much got, as far as I can see, man, you've got the world at your feet. Okay, so, there's only two of you, so there's less people to worry about when you're on tour and all the rest of it, less people to worry about getting drunk and all the rest of it. You've just got a drummer to worry about. But
he's pretty well behaved.
How far do you want to take this? I mean, it's a career for you, obviously, man, but in terms of what your plans are, can you share any of them?
Yeah. We're just going to... Hello, Andrew.
Hi, mate, can you hear me? I can hear.
Yeah, sorry, the internet's a little bit bad. We're just going to keep doing what we're doing, man. I mean, if obviously we're going to give our best, try and make the best decisions we can. But it's a lot of it has to do with the right time, luck, and all of those factors involved. So,
Actually,
we'll see what comes of the whole thing.
I've forgotten to ask you a question. I'm actually really interested in your gear. You know that. So you play a 10-string guitar. What brand are you playing?
Well, I used to play BC Rich Bitch, the 10-string from the 80s, an original, really nice model.
Wow, okay.
But it was getting, the neck, the stock was too short for the tuning I was wanting. So, and I moved to A. And so I got a custom, two customs. One of them wasn't really nice after a while, so I got a better one made. I've been playing that now for 3 years. So it's great. A nameless custom made by a great English friend of mine in Zurich. So yeah.
Okay, gotcha. Because it's a wood grain. This is like a two-tone wood grain that you're using.
Indeed, it's this one's solid walnut and with a maple neck. It's very heavy, which has brought me to move on to getting 2 more made, which are much lighter and tour worthy in that sense. So I need a backup guitar anyway, live, you know.
Of course,
these ones are lighter, same woods, little bit of a different design, but they should be easier to get around with, because after like 25 shows or so with this one, you can start getting some shoulder and back issues, and that's not what I want.
Yeah. Oh, especially not the way that, I mean, you're a very intense performer, man, so you probably don't even notice sometimes that you've got this weight around your neck, and it's just the instrument or the object through which you're channeling your wonderful music. And, mate, by the time you finish it, I bet when you have your first beer, when you get off stage, man, your neck is probably thinking, you probably feel like you've played a game of rugby or something.
Mate, yeah, it can be. You have to watch out, eh? So I've had my situations in the past, a few back issues and things, but I just know I try and take care of myself. I'm a very sporty, fit person, not really too much of a party guy anymore, so that really helps a lot as well.
I bet. Mate, what about amplification? Are you using the standard JCM behind you there, or have you got, or you might not have a preference?
No, I don't use Marshalls anymore. I haven't for years. Not for Bölzer anyway. I'm an Orange and Dorsey, so I play Rocker Verbs or my Dual Dark, which is my preferred amp. And then on the other side, I've been running a PV6505 or a 5150. It's perfect sonic combination, the Orange and the PVs. Really, you cover the entire frequency board, and it's just ideal for what I've been doing. So that's basically my 2 stock setup and then a bass rig. Yeah.
Okay, so you're running them in stereo, is that right? And then you got a bass rig, so you've got effectively 3 separate things happening?
Exactly, yeah.
Okay, what's the bass rig you've chosen? I'm a Gallian Kruger player, actually.
Well, for me, I like SVTs, you know, your Ampex.
God, yeah.
But because the signal is it's more subsonic, so it's below 2 octaves. So
okay,
I'm not really reliant on the wonderful tube tone that you would be after, you know, with a normal bass setup. So actually, I'm just left to whatever amps there, but I do prefer the SVT setup. Yeah,
I do too. It's just that they're heavy bloody things to carry around, aren't they? They are so heavy, and if you drop them, you're up for like $4,000 or whatever they're bloody worth, especially the good ones. Even more. I've got a mate who uses one, and it's like, man, really? At gigs where people come with beers on top of it, I've seen them do that. You know, I have all my stuff in it. I play covers, and so I play like funk and disco music and pop music, and it's about as far from metal as you can get, man. But the gigs still get pretty full on, as you can appreciate. And if you're playing up in Bundaberg or somewhere in a country town here in Queensland, man, they want their fucking rock and roll, man, and they'll get up right close next to you. And you're not telling them to get off stage. Yeah. They're staying there until they're done.
No. Exactly. Yeah. Gotcha. Well, I've had to, mention, that brings me to an interesting point. I've had to adjust elements of my setup over the years, due to that. Exactly. Like the pedal boards, you've got to make everything more robust because some countries do like to get more physically involved. So which is great. And also down to humidity problems when you're traveling around, all that stuff. Yeah.
Oh, I can imagine. Yeah. Well, mate, good luck with the shows, eh? Like, it's so hard for me with 2 kids to get out. I always say to artists, look, I'm going to go to the show, and then I don't. I feel really bad, to be honest. So I'm going to try and get to these shows here. First and foremost, I want to support you guys in your endeavour here. I think it's a wonderful thing that you're doing, and you're a bloody good band is the other thing. You know that, and I want to see you succeed, man. So I want to be just a little bit of a part of what you guys are doing when you hit the stages here. I think you're playing, is it Woolly Mammoth here in Brisbane, if I'm not mistaken?
Yes, I think so.
Yeah. Sorry, I don't have the gig poster with me at the moment, but man, they'll be great shows, and you guys will be very well supported. So thank you for doing what you're doing and coming down again.
Well, thank you, Andrew, man. That means a lot. Really appreciate it.
Yeah, no worries,
I
brother.
hope you can make it.
Yeah, cool. Mate, the final point I'll say, if you're comfortable with everything we've spoken about, I'll release it as a podcast episode.
Yes, of course. Absolutely. Thank you for the support.
No worries, mate. All the best with it. And you've got my details, man. You've been listening to the Scars and Guitars podcast series, and my name's Andrew Mackay-Smith. That interview's subject was Okoi Jones from the Swiss and Kiwi outfit Bölzer. Thanks so much for listening.